What's up, Wrestle Scope Nation? And listen, before you even think about clicking away, I need you to stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely shake the foundation of everything you thought you knew about Monday Night Raw. We've got leaked information about a secret backstage meeting between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins that WWE has been desperately trying to keep under wraps. And let me tell you something, when you hear what went down behind those closed doors, you're going to understand why corporate is in full panic mode right now. So smash that like button, because this is the kind of content WWE's legal team would love to see buried, but we're bringing it straight to you. Let's dive in. Here's what they're not telling you on television, folks. Here's what Michael Cole won't report. Here's what Triple H is pretending never happened. Last Monday night, after the camera stopped rolling, after the production trucks started packing up, and after 99% of the WWE universe went home thinking they'd seen everything Raw had to offer, Roman Reigns, the tribal chief himself, and Seth freaking Rollins had a confrontation so intense, so personal, and so explosive that multiple crew members have described it as the most uncomfortable moment they've witnessed in years of working for WWE. And you want to know the craziest part? WWE doesn't want this getting out because it completely contradicts the narrative they've been feeding us for months. This isn't about a worked storyline. This isn't about generating buzz for a pay-per-view. This is about two former brothers, two former SHIELD members having a very real conversation about very real issues that have been festering for over a decade. I've got sources, people, multiple independent confirmations from production staff, talent who are nearby, and let me tell you, what they're saying is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty details, I need you to do something for me. Look at your screen right now. If you're not subscribed to Wrestle Scope, you need to fix that immediately, because we are the only channel bringing you this level of insider information. We don't play games. We don't sugarcoat. We give you the truth that the wrestling world tries to hide. And drop a comment right now telling me, are you Team Roman or Team Seth? Because after you hear what I'm about to tell you, your answer might completely change. All right, let me set the stage for you, because context is everything here. For weeks now, we've been watching this uneasy tension between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins play out on our screens. It's been subtle. It's been in the background. Little glances, short interactions, the kind of thing that makes you think, okay, WWE is building to something, right? But what if I told you that what we're seeing on TV is just the tip of the iceberg? What if I told you that Roman and Seth have been in a Cold War backstage for months, and WWE Creative has been scrambling to figure out how to either capitalize on it or contain it? See, here's what most fans don't understand about the modern WWE. When you have two generational talents like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, both with massive egos, both with their own visions of where the company should go, both with armies of supporters in the locker room, you're not just dealing with on-screen characters, you're dealing with real power dynamics behind the scenes. Roman Reigns isn't just playing a character anymore. For the past several years, he's had creative input, booking influence, and let's be honest, veto power that very few wrestlers in history have ever possessed. The man has been the face of WWE, the cornerstone of the company, and he knows it. Seth Rollins, on the other hand, has been grinding for years to get that same level of respect, that same level of influence. He's been a world champion multiple times, he's main evented WrestleMania, he's carried entire brands on his back. But does he get the same level of reverence, the same level of creative control? Absolutely not. And that, my friends, is where the real tension begins. According to my sources, there have been multiple instances over the past 6 months where Roman and Seth have butted heads over creative direction, match finishes, and even promo content. These aren't just professional disagreements. These are personal frustrations that have been building up since their SHIELD days, and they're finally boiling over. Remember when Seth made those comments a few years back about Roman getting opportunity after opportunity despite fan backlash? Remember when Roman took his ball and went home during the pandemic, and Seth was left to carry Raw on his shoulders? Yeah, they remember too. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the situation. Let's talk about what actually happened in that backstage area last Monday night. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, Roman Reigns arrived at the arena later than usual. Now, that's not uncommon for Roman anymore. The tribal chief operates on his own schedule. But what is unusual is that Seth Rollins was apparently waiting for him, specifically requesting a private conversation away from cameras and away from other talent. Here's where it gets interesting, folks. This wasn't a friendly catch-up. This wasn't two old friends reminiscing about Shield days. According to crew members who were in the vicinity, voices were raised almost immediately. One source described it as going from 0 to 100 in seconds. So what were they arguing about? Well, this is where my intel gets really spicy. Apparently, Seth confronted Roman about recent creative decisions that have been made regarding potential matchups and storyline directions heading into WrestleMania season. Seth reportedly feels like he's been relegated to a secondary position despite delivering incredible work week after week, while Roman continues to be protected and positioned as untouchable regardless of whether he's even appearing regularly on television. And here's the kicker. Seth allegedly told Roman, and I'm paraphrasing from my source here, that the locker room is tired of the special treatment, and that there's a difference between being a top guy and being the guy who nobody else is allowed to touch creatively. Boom! Can you imagine? Can you imagine Seth Rollins, the visionary, the revolutionary, looking the tribal chief dead in the eye and telling him that his spot at the top is causing resentment throughout the entire roster? But Roman, being Roman, didn't back down, not even close. According to witnesses, Roman fired back with his own truth bombs. He reminded Seth that when the company needed someone to carry them through the pandemic era, through uncertainty, through transitions, he was the one who stepped up. He was the one who created the tribal chief character that revitalized his career and became the most compelling act in all of professional wrestling. Roman allegedly said something along the lines of, "I earned every bit of power I have, and if you wanted it, you should have been undeniable instead of just reliable." Ouch! That's not just a professional jab, that's personal. Now here's where things get even more heated. Seth apparently brought up Dean Ambrose, now known as Jon Moxley in AEW. He referenced how the Shield Brotherhood was supposed to mean something, how they were supposed to look out for each other. But when Dean left, Roman and Seth both went their separate ways without really addressing the fracture in their relationship. This is deep psychological territory we're talking about. This is three brothers who conquered WWE together, and now one's in a different company entirely, while the other two are fighting over scraps of creative control and positioning. Sources say Roman's demeanor changed completely when Dean was brought up. The tribal chief dropped the bravado for a moment and things got real quiet. But then he reportedly said something that left Seth speechless. Dean left because he couldn't handle not being the guy. Are you about to make the same mistake? Can you believe this? Roman essentially questioned whether Seth has what it takes to remain in WWE if he's not going to be satisfied with his position. The tension in that backstage area was reportedly so thick that production staff who were nearby actually stopped what they were doing. Some were worried it might escalate physically. Others were just shocked that two of WWE's biggest stars were having this conversation so openly, even though they thought they were in private. But here's the thing that nobody is talking about. This meeting went on for nearly 20 minutes. This wasn't a quick, heated exchange. This was a full-blown negotiation, argument, and soul-searching session between two men who have history, baggage, and completely different visions for their futures. So what happened after this confrontation? How did it end? And more importantly, what does this mean for WWE programming going forward? According to my sources, the meeting ended without any real resolution. There was no handshake, there was no let's squash this beef moment. Roman apparently walked away first, leaving Seth standing there, and here's the interesting part. Seth reportedly stood there for a few minutes afterwards, just processing everything that had been said. Multiple people backstage have described Seth as being visibly frustrated for the rest of the evening. He apparently went to his locker room, stayed there for a while, and then left the arena without talking to many people. That's not normal behavior for Seth Rollins, who's usually one of the most social and talkative people in any locker room. Roman, on the other hand, he went about his business as usual. Tribal chief mode activated. Nothing phases him. That's the kind of mental armor he's built over the years, and honestly, it's part of what makes him so effective as a character. But let's talk about the real implications here, because this goes way beyond just two guys having a disagreement. First of all, WWE Creative is now in a very interesting position. Do they capitalize on this real tension and incorporate it into storylines, or do they try to keep Roman and Seth separated to avoid any potential blow-ups? Insiders say there have been emergency creative meetings discussing exactly this dilemma. Some writers want to lean into it, create a program between Roman and Seth that could main event a major pay-per-view. Others are worried that these two might go into business for themselves and say things on live television that WWE wouldn't be able to control. And here's something else to consider. The locker room is watching this situation very closely. You've got younger talent who idolize both Roman and Seth, you've got veterans who remember when the Shield first debuted and changed the entire landscape of WWE, and you've got everyone in between trying to figure out where they stand in this potential civil war. Because make no mistake, if Roman and Seth are truly at odds, other wrestlers will choose sides. It might not be explicit, it might not be announced, but in the politics of professional wrestling, everybody aligns themselves somewhere, and those alignments determine opportunities, pushes, and career trajectories. Think about the ripple effects here. If Seth is truly frustrated with his positioning, does he start pushing back on creative more aggressively? Does he start politicking harder behind the scenes? Does he potentially look at his contract situation and consider what else might be out there for him?
And Roman, if he feels like Seth and others in the locker room are undermining his position or questioning his authority, does he double down on his influence? Does he become even more protective of his character and his spot? Does this make him harder to work with from a creative standpoint? These are the questions that WWE management is grappling with right now. Now, let me hit you with another layer of this situation that's absolutely fascinating, the Paul Heyman factor. Paul Heyman has been Roman's advocate, his mouthpiece, his conciliary for years now, but Paul also has a history with Seth Rollins. Paul has been in Seth's corner before. So where does Paul stand in all of this? Is he trying to mediate? Is he fanning the flames because he knows good conflict creates good television? Or is he staying out of it entirely? According to some reports, Heyman has actually tried to have separate conversations with both Roman and Seth since this confrontation happened. What those conversations entailed, I don't have concrete information on, but the fact that Heyman is involved tells you that this situation is being taken seriously at the highest levels of WWE. And let's not forget about another crucial element, the bloodline. Roman has built an empire around the bloodline storyline. It's been the most consistent and compelling narrative in WWE for years. But what happens if Roman is distracted by backstage politics? What happens if his focus shifts from telling this incredible story to defending